All right, we're here at the EDS conference in sunny Orlando, Florida. I am sitting with Rabbi Yehuda Schepansky, who is the head of school of the Orlando Torah Academy. So we are actually on home turf right now. Is that correct, Rabbi Schepansky?
That is correct.
All right, so you basically were able to roll out of bed and into the conference this year.
Close.
Close to it.
The school is only 8 minutes away. So.
The school's 8 minutes away from this facility.
Yeah.
All right, that's very, very interesting. All right, well, we're going to get into a number of things about the unique school that you have here in the community, the Orlando Jewish community. But let's start off 'cause this is something that is always a basic. Who are you? What's your professional background? How do you get to become a head of school of Orlando Torah Academy? And then give us a little bit of background about what is Orlando. What is the Orlando Jewish community? Because I would imagine to some people who might maybe live in some colder climates, this might sound like an appealing destination. So give us a little bit about your own background and then the school.
Okay, definitely, yes. I think it will be an appealing destination, but only now. It wasn't 15 years ago.
Okay, good.
When I showed up with my partner, Rabbi Waxman. My background.
How many years ago did you show up here?
We both showed up about 15 years ago.
15 years. So you've been here for 15 years.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, fine. Okay, go back.
So we showed up together. We both learned in Yeshiva Chavetz and as many may know, Yeshiva is definitely very into building communities, building Torah communities. That's really what they focus on, whether it's through building schools or shuls and kollalim, but mainly through schools. They have schools all over the country. As you're leaving kollel, they normally provide people with opportunities that are presented to them. And for about 3-4 years before we left kollel, they were working on Orlando for quite a while.
Interesting. So basically, who is they were working?
So Rabbi Ben Zion Shade, who was actually the founding Rosh Yeshiva of Miami Chavetz Chaim, which has over 1,000 students right now, later in his career was asked by the Rosh Yeshiva Zatzal to join the Hanhala of the Rabbinical Seminary of America in Queens as the person who will basically, it's called NTI, the National Torah Initiative.
Sure.
And he basically is in charge of getting things started off the ground.
But why was Orlando chosen?
So when he was in Miami, he would be called by some Bali Batim in Orlando who were basically here just trying to make some business, whatever, and then as they started getting married and having small families, they realized they can't live here without a school. At some point, someone made contact with, gave them Rabbi Chait's contact, and he would come up here to visit and to see whether the community was really ready for it. It took him 4 years to decide that maybe the yeshiva should take a crack at it and really make an effort.
Is there something that's like a litmus test to say, okay, now you're ready? I actually
think there really was. It didn't really work out in our favor, but the litmus test, I think, for Rabbi Chait was that there was a rabbi on the ground who was trying to develop the kehillah and was pushing for it.
Right.
So in the beginning, the first 4 years, wasn't really a rabbi. Then a Sephardic kehillah of Israeli people got together. They brought in a rabbi, and that rabbi basically said, I'm here for you,
right, and
this is a great place for all of us to live in, but if we don't have a school, there's nothing here.
Right.
And he went ahead and he really, together with Rabbi Chait, he pushed him, this has to happen. There's Chabad here. They had only had a preschool. They weren't ready to move into the higher grades yet.
Sure.
So they called the yeshiva, and we started coming down in probably, I would say, April or March of 2010. And by July, we decided we're going to take the leap of faith. We didn't have students enrolled yet, but we had families we were working with, and we were confident that if we just made the jump, they would come on board. And we started with 12 students.
12 students in year one. And then how many students do you have today?
215.
215.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I grew up in a tiny Jewish community in Providence, Rhode Island.
Yeah.
I don't remember when they had 200 students,
yeah,
and that community's been around for a lot longer.
Right.
So that's incredible.
Yeah.
That's really fast.
My wife went to the high school there.
She went to NEAT. Really?
Yeah.
All right, we'll save that for a different podcast. We'll do it offline. We'll do the Jewish geography. That is fantastic. Okay, so Jewish geography in Providence, Rhode Island is actually pretty easy. So,
but I'm sure these kind of things really help people appreciate it. Meaning, my wife being in that school helped her appreciate the idea of starting a school, and she very much pushed me.
I think people, when you grow up in a small,
role.
when you grow up in a small community, and I'm sure this will be the case for your kids as well, is there's a pride and that you are like a little bit of a pioneer, that you're making something from nothing. So there's an ownership that you get, even as a young person. Like they ask you to, can you daven in front of the Amud, or can you, you're the person.
You own your Judaism.
Yes.
That's really what it is, and that was even for my wife and I. Obviously, it's daunting with your kids. Is it going to be okay? But that was like probably one of the core ideas and foundations that we wanted to build our kids on, where they own their Judaism. And it was a real big factor.
Totally understand that. Now, when a school opens up, you're drawing from the local population, I would say.
Yeah.
That's your audience. So is it more of like a community day school where it's a mix of kids from a variety of backgrounds?
I can't say we have the most diverse school in America, but I think we probably have one of the most diverse schools in America.
I would imagine it has to be.
Basically, you have everyone from, I wouldn't call it completely secular Israeli, but we have traditional Masorati. A lot of those families are not really religious, what we would term as religious, which obviously is up to Hashem mostly.
Sure.
But we have from anywhere from there to totally, I guess you could call black hat, maybe Hasidish, maybe.
Right.
But and it's all under one roof.
On one roof. And
the kids are together. It's b'shalom. And yes, there's obviously challenges. Sometimes the more religious families is worried about their influence, but we really make it work.
Yeah, some of my childhood memories were going to a classmate's birthday party at Chuck E. Cheese's, and they're having their pepperoni pizzas ordered, and I come with my wrapped up tuna fish sandwich.
Exactly, same exact thing, literally exact same thing. Chuck E. Cheese, but you know what it is? As the community grows, as our school grows, so it went from that same Chuck E. Cheese to you bring your own food to now there's no family, even if they're not religious, that will not respect and order
the sensitivity
food for the entire class.
Right.
So it really helps everyone just grow.
Absolutely.
And they're in different places.
That's amazing. Okay, so I did this. I came into this interview saying, okay, let me hear about this new community, and it really resonates with me as another small town kid. So that's really wonderful. Okay, good. So. It's Orlando. This is it's an unusual place too, right? I mean, you don't think as far as like it's a major metropolitan for Jewish community, but it's also a major destination for folks who want to go to Disney World or all the other wonderful amusement parks and activities to do here. How does that play into the development of a Jewish community? I mean, obviously, there's a Jewish community in Las Vegas, and they're not on the Sunset. They're not on the Strip, right? They're not on the Vegas Strip, and you're probably not, in Mickey Mouse Wonderland and on things like that. But what are the implications on the tourism business, and what does that mean for the school, the community? I know it's a little bit of a broad question, but to me, it's like such an interesting thing of what the unique aspect of like what you are in Orlando.
Right. So it's a great question, and truthfully, at this moment, it actually overlaps a lot. Okay, but it didn't start like that. Meaning, in the beginning, I would say we started like a regular day school, and except for the fact that we actually didn't have community support, or balabatim, as you would say, and there were some. Dark days is not maybe the right way to say it, but there were days that were really, really tough on the fundraising end. My partner and I just remember we both used to take trips to different cities, New York, Chicago, making parlor meetings, anything we needed to do. We would go on fundraising trips, Miami, which is helpful, but at the end of the day, it wasn't really, we were really struggling. About 5 years in, we had a little bit of a changing moment,
like a breakthrough.
Not directly into the vacation people, but we had a whole situation with our building that we were being kicked out of our building that we had just gotten into right before the school year. Luckily, like a week before, and the person was made an offer. So we had to go on a large campaign. Back then, they didn't have crowdfunding campaigns.
Right.
But we did one of the first lending and crowdfunding campaigns ever done. We just pumped it out there. And a person and it started because of someone named Mr. Araz Ladowitz had come for a Shabbos after we basically decided we needed to match the offer on the building. He had come for a Shabbos, and he needed a place to stay. At that time, people didn't just stay in the villas. He had gone there for vacation, But he said, this is not Shabbos.
Right.
I'm not staying for Shabbos. So even though he was there for vacation for, let's say, 2 weeks, he called up a friend and said, I can't be here for Shabbos. Where can I go for Shabbos? So his friend said, well, there's a small little community. You want to go there? Go there. So we went there. He went there. He called up my partner. He went there. And by the next morning, he hatched this whole plan of a crowdfunding campaign to get us the building. And so that was the beginning of our relationship with Ira Zlotowitz. We got the building. And about a year or two later...
And I also imagine as you're like, oh, here's somebody who came to the community saying, I don't have a place to go for Shabbos. I don't have a way to feel connected in.
Yeah.
And you're like, all right, maybe there is a market here.
Right. So even then, we got to say, we knew that Ira Zlotowitz could help us out with the building. So it was helpful. And, just really the idea that we were doing chesed, we were having people who were here on vacation, but it was nowhere near to the level it was now.
Yeah.
And basically after a year of our relationship with Ira Zlotowitz, he basically we just needed to push. We always knew it was there, but he really pushed us. He said, you guys go all these places, fundraising, whatever, but everyone's really coming right to you.
They're coming to you. You are the destination.
Yeah. So you're kind of making a little bit of a mistake. Instead of doing all that, focus your energy on servicing and serving these people and making relationships with them when they come here. And the sky's the limit.
It sounds so obvious now.
Yeah, it really does. It really does. A bunch of guys who their dream is to start a yeshiva and build a Torah community just don't think like that.
Right.
Coming out of yeshiva, we weren't trained like that.
Well, there was no manual.
There's not right. It's not common, especially in our system. They're just a bunch of straight let's just go teach Torah and we'll scrap around for money. But it took us, we had to get comfortable. We're starting a business. What does that mean? We're going to be business people, right now.
So you have a separate business entity? It's a corporate
called
entity?
Kosher Orlando. We started as Kosher Orlando. Started off focusing
Is it kosherorlando.com? Is that's
kosherorlando.org.
.org.
Yep.
Okay.
And it started off really focusing on simple things that people needed, koshering. A lot of people needed that for Pesach. We helped make minyanim in homes, and then it just evolved into everything somebody needs for vacation, like hot plates, urns, crock pots, grills. For sukkahs, we do sukkahs.
Do you get in the business of the properties as well?
We're definitely until this point we were more of a broker.
Yeah.
Getting a percentage.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking into diving in deeper right now. Get a little, more connected.
Makes sense.
More behind the villas. Yeah. It's just, it's balancing running a business, which really is its own source of revenue, but it all really just goes to.
And the people who run the business aspect, it's a separate staff. It's the people who this is their full-time job.
Well, I would say Ray Waxman and I, who was my partner starting school, we still run that. But we hired the people; they are separate.
Right. In other words, it rolls up to you, but you have people who do the day-to-day.
But the people we hire are very much bought into our mission. So, for example, we just had a charity, and we try to include the whole thing with it, which is the school. And we started a yeshiva high school this year, a boys' high school, and Kosher Orlando. And the people who run Kosher Orlando brought in a ton of donations because at that moment during that week, it was just completely focused. There's
even on the business side, it has a higher purpose. It's serving a higher purpose.
It's totally a higher purpose.
Right. It's not like we're just going to use this as a way to fund the operations of our school. It's more about this is part of the mandate of bringing Judaism and kashrus and all these things that are important to someone who's coming to Orlando. You're providing a real Jewish community service.
Yeah, and that's why we have it run by Rabbi Grimblatt runs it together with Rabbi Renner, and it's a team, but they really all value this idea of spreading Torah and teaching,
So are there challenges with being a fast-growing Jewish community as it relates to sustainability? In other words, can you keep up with the growth? What does that mean? Because I know many communities that struggle. Right? I think many communities struggle. But the idea of saying that you're seeing really explosive growth, I'm assuming people continuously move to Orlando. You still see that trajectory happening. What does it mean as far as what is a fast-growing Jewish community? What kind of the challenges that come with that?
So we definitely had challenges. I would say we really saw it coming. So we did a lot of preparation.
When you say saw it coming, it was because with everyone moving to Florida,
Miami the moment
Hollywood.
COVID hit, or even a little bit before that.
Yeah.
The idea of vouchers and then COVID to get the combination, we knew it was just gonna really it could be. It's just, we could go.
It was like
to
a perfect
500
storm.
kids,
Yeah.
and we were at 100 kids probably before COVID, right? Imagine
and
that.
you
We
more than doubled.
We doubled since COVID. So we built up the infrastructure. So
Wow.
now, even though I was the principal for 13 years, I gave that up. I'm more just head of school and managing between Kosher Orlando and what's going on in the school and the growth of the school and the buildings and everything else we need to do. So we focused on that. We hired consultants on education and what we would need to build it up to make sure we're prepared for the growth. But I think we did it well. I really think so, and we're prepared. We can still take more kids. We're happy for people
That's
to move.
amazing.
I think real estate in general slowed down. I think the end of the day is people don't move when it's really bad for everyone. I think even as good as Florida might be, they'd have to still know they can get a job rather
So they
than
don't move
leave a
because
job.
it's
They don't
really
take a
bad.
risk.
Right.
It's
Right.
like-
They don't move because
so
it's
you
really
keep-
bad, but they move because it's really good.
Right.
In other words, if something is very compelling,
Right.
then they go, all right, well, it's not bad, or maybe it is bad here, but this looks really attractive,
Right.
and therefore it's a destination to
Right.
go to.
Right.
So you don't get people who say, I got to get out. It's
Right.
more of, this looks like a place I want to be.
Yeah, it's turning that way.
That's
it was
interesting.
that way a little bit like a few years ago, but now it's turning to be that. Like what
That's
you
great.
just said.
That's where you want to be.
Yeah.
You don't want to be a charity case.
Right.
Where like, all right, I guess we have to go to Orlando.
Yeah.
Right? No, it's
Yeah.
it's like this is a priority one.
Right.
That's
And now we have
phenomenal.
a kollel. We brought in a kollel within the shul. I would say the
How
shul
recent?
is where there's a little bit of struggle with growth,
Mhm.
but only because of zoning issues. This is like when you think of Orlando, there's thousands of Jews, but there's barely any Jewish infrastructure. And I'm talking about like any old Jewish. So like the amount of, let's say, even conservative Reform synagogues doesn't really make sense for
Right.
the amount of people here.
So you're saying like when you want to put infrastructure in, whether it's like a mikvah or a eruv, this is like a foreign concept.
Everything's a hassle.
Everything's a hassle.
It's a major hassle. We needed a special exception for the shul.
Yeah.
We fought a lot. We were sued and we fought a lawsuit. We won it. Right now we're in another one where we're trying to expand the shul, and you definitely would do great interviewing the rabbi. But we just asked to build a 3-story building within a residential neighborhood, and there were probably about 500 people at a meeting recently, making a lot of noise. There shouldn't
right.
be a building in
in a residential area.
Yeah, but in the context of the larger Orlando, really does make sense because you'd have to see it. But like we're on the main drag, and like there's churches that dot the entire thing, but not one synagogue. So like,
Right.
just give us one.
Right.
Like,
Guys, you see all this
Yeah.
infrastructure?
Just give us one.
How about
come
us
on.
too?
Yeah.
Right.
But Orlando was really, it's kind of like the South.
Yeah.
People don't think about it like
Right.
that. Aside from Disney, Orlando's like the South. Meaning it's not like Miami where it was
Interesting.
populated by New York. It was originally populated by people who
Right.
lived here. As like,
Look, as you break through the first person through the wall always gets bloodied,
Yeah.
right? So the challenges you have, whether it's lawsuits or things like that, to get your infrastructure in place, God willing, after the first one or two, a lot of this stuff hopefully will smooth itself out.
yeah.
I think that's the case.
Yeah.
I think that's fair to assume.
Yeah.
Okay, so if someone wants to learn more about whether it comes, let's say to come visit, right? Kosher Orlando, we said it's kosherorlando.org,
Yeah.
and they can see everything they need to see there.
Right.
And they want to learn more about the school and about the Jewish community. About maybe it's a place for them to live.
Yeah,
Where
so
should they
that
go?
I would just recommend looking at our website, orlandotorah.com.
OrlandoTorah.com.
Yeah,
Okay.
we
so
were
the
back.
school is .com,
It's
and the
interesting when we first wanted to get the website. So I think .org was taken for some reason,
There's
or
some-
I think we were before .org really took off.
Yeah,
we were still
that
in
could
more
be.
when .com
Everything
was
is
a little more
.com.
popular, and that's what happened. We secured .com
Okay.
for the school, and then
That's funny.
when the tourist concierge took off, Kosher Orlando, we got .org. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, we can help you in either arena if you want to move. If you're just here on vacation, Kosher Orlando, you could go online. You could WhatsApp directly from online. They'll answer any of your questions, and they'll help you plan your vacation.
If
Kosher
my kids are
vacation.
listening to this podcast, which
Yeah.
is entirely possible that it's going to happen,
Yeah.
I know what the first thing it's going to be like. All right, Ava, let's
Look that up.
I
Right?
think we're going to Disney World. So,
Yeah. Yeah,
so thank you
well,
for that.
yeah.
This has just become the
We'll
most
make-
expensive
we'll help you
podcast.
make it happen. Yeah. Nah, I'm sure you're going to have more expensive.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Rabbi Schepansky.
Okay.
Lots of hatzlacha. Thank you for being here at the EDS conference, and hopefully I'll see you again soon when I'm on vacation.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
Thank you very much.